Hello, my friends. Hello, and welcome once again to stately Vaughn Manor, where it's Wednesday, which means it's Comic Book Wednesday. Every Wednesday, I talk about a certain comic book graphic novel or comic book subject. Steve Donoghue on his channel will talk about that same comic book graphic novel or comic book subject. It is our world's finest team up that we do once a week. And this week we're talking about my favorite Marvel comic book. Once again, we're talking about the Fantastic Four. This is the Fantastic Four Epic Collection Volume 8, Annihilus Revealed. And this has Fantastic Four stories from 1972 through 1974, which was an interesting time for the Fantastic Four, moving out of the 1960s and into the new world of the 1970s. And at this point, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby were off the book as creators. So they were on the book a long time, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, and they did some of the best Fantastic Four comic books ever. They created the team, of course, and created some of the greatest Fantastic Four stories. Jack Kirby was the best Fantastic Four artist. Although, at the very end, Jack Kirby kind of burnt out. And for various reasons, kind of phoned it in his last few issues of the Fantastic Four anyway. And eventually left the book, left Marvel for a while, and was replaced by one of my favorite comic book artists of all time, whose artwork is featured in this prominently, and that would be John Buscema, Big John Buscema, who was amazing on the Fantastic Four. What an incredible comic book artist John Buscema was. And so he was on this book after Jack Kirby. Eventually, the artwork moves on to Rich Buckler, who, has to be said, also does a pretty good job on the Fantastic Four. We also have a little bit from Ross Andru. The writing was done by Roy Thomas in the beginning of this epic collection, and that moved on to Gary Conway. Roy Thomas was excellent on the Fantastic Four. He had that melodramatic way about him, which worked for this comic book, which was basically an action-adventure comic book with heavy soap opera elements, particularly in this volume, with lots of drama going on in this particular volume of the Fantastic Four this time on the Fantastic Four. Like I said, we were moving out of the 1960s into the new world of the 1970s. And there were some clunky things left behind in the Fantastic Four. One of them was Reed Richards and his attitude towards women, which was very much in line with Stan Lee's, in a way. There were some issues at the beginning of this because having to do with Reed Richards and his wife, Sue Storm. They had been married earlier, and now they have their son, Franklin, who grows up slower than any other child ever. I'm not sure. He never did grow up, I don't think. He's still a kid, I think. After 40 years. So anyway, they have some drama, Reed Richards and Sue Storm, because he cannot accept her as both a mother and a member of the team, the Fantastic Four. And so eventually they have a blow up. There she is with the kid. And she says, well, if you can't treat me as an equal member on the Fantastic Four, I'm just going to leave. I'm taking this kid and I'm cutting out. And he's like, fine, maybe you can be a mother now like you ought to be and stay home with the kid. And so they have a blow-up argument. Sue Storm leaves the Fantastic Four. Drama. And there's more drama because the Inhumans feature prominently in this book. And there's a section in here, if I could find it. Here it is, where Crystal has to admit to him that she has fallen in love with someone else and no longer is in love with Johnny Storm, the Human Torch. And he's like, fine, that's fine. You know what? I was done with you anyway. I'm ready to move on. But not really. His heart has been broken. Poor Johnny Storm. So you have lots of drama going on, you know, with our characters. All extremely beautifully drawn by John Buscema. I mean, his artwork is incredible in this volume. Such brilliant artwork. And there is Thundra, that's right, in the Frightful Four. She temporarily is in the Frightful Four. Thundra was a great character. Thundra was a femizon from an alternate future where women rule society and men are just slaves. And not only is she a femizon, she is a super femizon. And she comes back to this time to fight the Thing frequently. She really likes the Thing, and yet she fights him very often. She doesn't stay on the Frightful Four because she's actually she's not really a villain. She does have a great costume, though. You can see that her pants are cut at the proper level. No high-waisted grandma pants for Thundra. No, she would not be down with today's fashions properly. So yeah, there's Thundra there, and she's a lot of fun. She's on the cover, actually. You can see her fighting the Thing there. So we've got some cool characters in this one. A lot of returning villains. Annihilus himself. We've got Doctor Doom making his inevitable reappearance and reappearing again. Doctor Doom is in here. He has to be because he's Doctor Doom. And like I said, the Inhumans are in this. But since Sue Storm has left the Fantastic Four at this point, they need a replacement. Otherwise, you know, they're just the Fantastic Three, and that's no good. So we have Medusa of the Inhumans replacing Sue Storm, the Invisible Girl. Now, Medusa's superpower is her super hair. Her hair can move and has super strength, actually, and can toss things around. It defies all the laws of physics. Here's Thundra and Ben Grimm going at it again. I love Thundra. But yeah, her Medusa's hair defies all laws of physics and can just pick things up and toss things around no matter how heavy they are. You know, you think if she tried to pick up something real heavy with her hair, she would just fall over because, you know, she's picking things up that are heavier than she is. But no, it doesn't work that way. She has extra superpowers. Like I said, at the end of this book, the new artist, Rich Buckler, takes over, and it has to be said, he does a pretty good job. He kind of does it in the style of John Buscema, and so he keeps the look of the book going pretty well. There's a couple other interesting things about this epic collection that I want to mention. First of all, in the very beginning, there's Doctor Doom again, but it's not really Doctor Doom. He's just a thought projection. Reed Richards creates a thought projector, and the Thing is bored, so the Thing decides to use the thought projector just to entertain himself. And so he thinks back to the beginning of the Fantastic Four, and we get a retelling of the origin of the Fantastic Four, but from the Thing's perspective and drawn by John Buscema, which is really cool because we get a retelling of one of the early Fantastic Four stories drawn by John Buscema. So the origin is retold. Interestingly, in this part, Ben Grimm is viewing himself, and when the Thing first showed up in the Fantastic Four, he looked much different. This is the Thing as he appeared in the 70s, and he pretty much as he appears now. And this is the original Thing from the 60s when he was first transformed. He was just a big lumpy monster as opposed to a big rocky monster. And he puts a thought projector and he sees himself like that, and he can barely recognize himself. He doesn't see himself that way anymore. So they do a retelling of the Fantastic Four's origin story, which is really close to Jack Kirby's, down to individual panels, just drawn by Jean Buscema, who does a great job with the origin story. But when the Thing shows up in the origin, the Thing is drawn as the Thing appears in the 1970s, not as the Thing appears in the 1960s. Because this is from Ben Grimm's perspective. And this is how Ben Grimm, the Thing, sees himself in the 1970s. He can't really picture himself as he was in the 60s. So the way this is retold from the Thing's perspective, he visualizes himself as he is in the current time, not as he was in the past. We get some really cool pictures there of the Fantastic Four. That's a great shot there. Wonderful artwork in this. So we get some of the original stuff from Fantastic Four #1, but redrawn in a fancy new way by John Buscema. It's really cool. And this Epic Collection is just full of really, really cool stuff. Some of the artwork is just gorgeous. I noticed in this issue really heavy focus actually on the Thing and on Johnny Storm to a lesser degree, because the Human Torch and the Thing were by far the most popular characters in the Fantastic Four. The Thing is just such a great character. He's awesome, the Thing, and you get a lot of him in this Epic Collection. I will shut up now about this. This Epic Collection is awesome. It's an interesting period. I do want to just go over some of the extras though at the end, because these Epic Collections, they always have extras, and this one actually has a lot. You get some text features that were included in some of the original Fantastic Four issues. A lot of really cool extras, advertisements. This stuff is always fun to look at, these old comic book advertisements. And you get some stuff from Foom, the fan magazine. And one of the cool things, you get all of our creators as they appeared in the 1970s. Such a strange time, a very bad time for hair, I have to say. So you get articles on the early Fantastic Four, but one of the coolest things you get is right here. This is kind of a checklist of the earlier Fantastic Four issues, and it has the issue, who wrote it, who drew it, and what the title of the story was. And it's really cool. I mean, stuff like this is awesome. And like I said, this particular Epic Collection has a lot of extras at the back. It's one of those things that makes these Epic Collections really cool. Okay, now I'll shut up. I'll shut up now. Be sure to see Steve Donoghue talk about this later on today. And I will catch you next time. I'm hoping to get the Robert E. Howard show up tomorrow, and so I will see you next time.